I don't think many people understood the point of that last video. Even the people who liked it didn't get the whole message, if you want to call it that. Some people didn't like it when I say you see your character as a function. Most people's main takeaway here was having an old school mentality will allow you to exceed at fighting games. They think that when the title is The Past, the thumbnail is full of old fighting game characters, more than half the video talks about old fighting games, and the end of the video encourages people to play old fighting games and provides methods to do so. That kind of stuff, you gotta think about that. You gotta use your brain. I thought you two people were the smartest people on this planet, especially all the guys who decide to blow up cars. Regardless, I said what I said, and before I get into what we're gonna talk about today, there's a few things I wanna clear up. Fuck you, I'm right, go to bed. Okay, originally I had this part in the script where I talked about the story of how I got into competitive Smash and how I started playing characters I hold close to my heart, but eventually found the reason why people play top tiers so much. And while I love playing top tiers, my mains are still the characters that I perform best with, and I don't want to stretch this intro longer than it needs to be. Pretty sure I don't need to explain this. My video was intended more for people who want to be serious at fighting games, rather than applying to everyone who's ever played them. Because there are definitely some people who didn't like what I said, despite not playing fighting games much. But going into a fighting game with the intention of investing time and learning it, people will still play the characters they want, and I don't have a problem with that. As a matter of fact, that concept isn't as far-fetched as it sounds. What's the whole point of Smash Brothers, or Marvel, DBFC, Persona 4 Arena, BB Tag for that matter? The novelty of being able to fight as characters you hold close to your heart is what often draws people to a fighting game. Once again, you have to understand there's always going to be consequences to playing a character with the knowledge that they suck. I always hated that misconception about those who play top tier characters, because I used to have that mindset too. Playing low tier characters makes me morally superior than those who play good characters. They only care about winning. They don't like to have fun. Look at the evil in his eyes. They use broken characters because they don't have skill. I have skill because I play bad characters, which is what I told myself as I ate my daily serving of cement and olive oil. I'm joking, don't get mad at me. People play top tier characters mostly out of enjoyment rather than obligation to win. There's always going to be more merit to winning as a low tier character. You manage to pull through a tough matchup against a character with way better options than you? Sick! But people stray away from those characters not only to make their lives easier, but because they have to spend a good portion of the game playing like this. Or like this. And people don't really want to do that. Of course this applies to top tiers as well, but to a way lesser extent. I'm not the big tier whore some of you might make me out to be. This is me telling you this stuff. Me. This guy. What? The guy who plays Sean in Third Strike is telling you it might be a good idea to play top tiers. This also goes for balance patches. I'm not saying you should never ask for them, because obviously some characters desperately need them, but there's definitely some people out there who act as if it's the only thing holding them back from being, you know, like the best in the world. I'm telling you these things because it's what helped me get better. When I played Smash 4, I used to be the biggest complainer of Cloud and Bayo, but when I put that aside, I managed to do way better in those matchups. Doesn't mean those characters aren't full of shit, but to me, that's just how it works. You learn, you make mistakes, you invest time, you improve. And as for characters or functions, I'll admit it's a dumb statement, but it's more about what you desire from your game. Me personally, I play my characters for the way they play, but if you play your characters for their design or story, that's cool. You know, I'm not going to send a Trojan horse to your address because of the reason you play a fighting game character. Of course, most of you aren't complete idiots, and you already know this. Remember, YouTube audience. Geniuses. Like I said, last video was all about old fighting games, but a smaller theme of that video was still, don't be a bitch, don't complain. This time, however, do what you want, I don't care. First off, why do low tier characters suck? Well, believe it or not, most low tier characters in fighting games, especially newer ones, can function just fine. For Christ's sake, someone made top 8 at Eunice Evo 2019 with Enkidu, who at the time was considered one of the worst characters in the game. They're not all the walking dumpster fire that is Brawl Ganondorf. Rather, low tier characters remain the way they are, because the good things they can do are done way better by everyone else. Here's Sean from Third Strike. Here's the most Sean can do off a combo without meter. Alright, now here's one of the combos Akuma can do without meter. I know this is an extreme example, considering Sean is the worst character in the game, but dismissing him and 12, let's take her 1 or 2 spots up the tier list. Hugo is the typical grappler. You play defensively and wait until your perfect time to get in to execute your hard-hitting moves. The problem is getting within grab range because you're so slow, so it's much easier for the opponent to play the keep away game. Hugo players want to get in range to do big damage, but that job would be made much easier if they played Ken, who not only has an easier time getting in, but has ridiculously high damaging combos, and can get those combos for many more situations, plus infinitely more useful moves at your disposal. There's definitely advantages to playing Hugo. He has way more health than Ken. He may be slow, but his large normals can often box out opponents. Plus, learning Ken's Kara Shoryuken isn't exactly the easiest thing in the world, but you understand why Hugo takes a back seat compared to Third Strike's much better characters. Top tiers will always reign supreme solely because life. But you should never count out the characters lower than them, as they always have tricks up their sleeve, especially new players with a fresh new set of ideas than anyone else before them. I remember when Smash Ultimate first came out. Everybody struggled against Belmonts and K-Rool. You all suck ass. With every new Smash game, the topic amongst everyone was the classic. Who's the best character? Who's the worst character? Most pro players put Game & Watch in low tier, and at the time, nobody batted an eye. How could they? From the surface, Game & Watch didn't change much between Smash 4 and Ultimate. His down smash could ground opponents now, his up air became a multi-hit projectile, F tilt and down tilt were much stronger, forward air is terrible now. This character being low tier wasn't an idea that people opposed given his reputation, and there were tons of characters to try out anyway. So their Game & Watch was just chilling in his crib, somewhere in the projects. You know, they're struggling to pay the bills in the low tiers. Suddenly, Meister pulled up and told his boy, "Get your shit, we're making it out of the hood." That's cool. Down smash to F smash kill confirm. Down throw nair to tap on percent, which turns into down throw up air to juggle opponents to your heart's content. Up B out of shield, which is not only fast but incredibly safe. Using down air once you're too far up, not only because it's safe, but because it can kill your opponent if you manage to catch them. Edge guarding with neutral B by constantly chucking bacon, which racks up hella percent. Using up smash to bait your opponents to approach because your whole body is invincible when you use it. Forward air still sucks though, no one can convince me it doesn't. Meister showed everyone what kind of superpowers Game & Watch possessed. He earned himself 6th place on the 2019 UPGR. Game & Watch went from low bottom tier to high top tier, and he constantly gets ripped on. Hey, this is the Smash community. We prey on your downfall when you win too much, and we throw crabs at you for playing Puff. What are you gonna do about it? No matter the spot on the tier list, you can always find success with a character, but that success is limited to, say, a local filled with players who have no idea what to do against them. Theoretically, you could make your character the unstoppable Megazord you envision him to be. You could do that, if you can work around your respective game's meta. I'm pretty sure we all know what the meta is. Do we? Is it the best characters in the game? The best strategies to use? It's a term used to describe a game generally, but it's also a term used to describe single characters. For example, advance this character's meta. Regardless, we should all have a vague idea on what the metagame is, that being the most optimal thing you should be doing. Every metagame prioritizes something different, even games in the same franchise. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo is a very fundamentals heavy game. There's no long drawn out combos, no game winning supers, no movement options at that. The name of the game here is keeping your opponent at a set distance, which is why fireballs are a huge deal in ST. They're fast, do a considerable amount of damage, are hard to avoid, and you can throw them at 3 different speeds. The best character in Super Turbo is undoubtedly Old Sagat, who on top of having incredible range on his normals, has high and low fireballs that you can also throw out very fast. Then you look at Third Strike. Fireballs aren't what they used to be. Not only do they not do as much damage, but they can also be parried. And when you parry something, you build meter, meaning throwing a fireball with the intention of keeping your opponent at the distance they're currently at isn't a good idea. Compared to Super Turbo, there's a bunch more you can do in Third Strike. Parries, EX moves, Kara, juggling, benefits from taunts. You can finally dash for once, can you believe that? It's still very fundamentals heavy like all Street Fighter games. Players can't pinpoint what exactly the Third Strike meta prioritizes, and if I have to give my own take, a good character in this game comes from a combination of the strong points your character has by themselves and the mileage they get from the preferred super art. You could see this in characters like Chun-Li with Super 2, Ken with Super 3, Urien with Super 3, and especially Yun with Canadian. Take what I said and throw it out the window. The way I just described those two games would be heavily disagreed by an abundance of players. Maybe there's people who are on board with the way I described Super Turbo, but I'm damn certain there's a bunch of people who would object to my description of Third Strike. In fighting games, a ton of factors towards a meta is subjective, even what should be objectivity. These are the characters we see in the top 32 of large tournaments, so they're all really good characters. These are the characters used by the best players in the world, so they're all good characters. Need I remind you, somebody got top 8 at Unis Evo 2019 with Enkidu, who was one of the worst characters in the game. So was this a character we thought was bad but turns out to be really good, or is Unis just balanced very well? 9 times out of 10, it's probably the latter. But keep in mind, once again, people have tricks up their sleeve. There's a lot of dudes out there who are reluctant to believe a shift in the meta is possible based on what's been previously established. I don't know about you, but I'm optimistic for any fighting game. Seeing weaker characters make breakout performances. Even old ones, the games that are often called quote-unquote solved. Don't get me wrong, I've heard the dumb ideas. Somebody once told me Bowser could be mid-tier on Yoshi's story because his get-up attack from ledge covers a whole 1/3 of the stage, but this is without taking into account getting platform camped, getting punished after the get-up attack, the possible implementation of the ledge grab limit, the fact that all ledge get-up attacks are different beyond 100%, but most importantly, melee tourneys have you play best of 3s in early bracket, which force stage bans, so if your opponents knew what your strategy was, they could easily ban Yoshi's, meaning the plan already failed before getting started. I won't rip on him for too long, he was very new to the game when he told me this. Still, what about everyone else? What new tricks does Master have up his sleeve? Well, despite playing for so long. What about Franz? What about the Swooper? What about top players' low-tier secondaries influencing the likes of newer low-tier mains? You never know. See, even when the established meta is what people believe will work, doesn't mean it's gonna work 100% of the time. Sometimes, what seems should go against the meta could instead become a huge part of it. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo is a game I just talked about. I said the meta is all about fireballs, which is also the conception most outsiders have about this game. Look at the tier list and it all makes sense. Old Sagat, Dhalsim, Chun-Li, Old Ken, Ryu, DJ, Guile, Vega, Balrog. Oh wait, neither of these characters have fireballs. But why are they some of the best characters in the game? Look at Vega. He has a ton of range, a really fast throw, the fastest walking speed. He can clear over most fireballs without having to worry about jumping into them with his fast jump. Most importantly, he has what's known as the Hue Ball strategy. Using the wall dive attack, you can immediately jump towards your opponent and hit them with a claw coming down. You can mix up what side of the wall you initially jump to, the trajectory in which you jump in, and whether you want to claw them, grab them, cross up, fake, pretty much anything. With good mix-ups and timing, the Hue Ball strategy is unbeatable at times. Few characters have answers to it besides Old Ken acting as a hard counter. Balrog would come as a complete surprise to anybody. While Vega can clear fireballs and completely negate them with his wall dive, Balrog doesn't have anything like that. What he does have, however, is god powers. He can go through fireballs with his headbutt, amazing rushdown, hard-hitting combos, all of which can dizzy. His rush punch is hard to react to, a good combo finisher, is great for closing in space, and has 4 different variations, all of which are integral to this crazy bastard. You know how I said Super Turbo doesn't have ridiculous game-winning supers? Balrog has that ridiculous game-winning super. With all this in mind, look at the kind of shit you can do with Balrog. Here's Daigo Umehara going up against John Choi's Old Sagat. Daigo is about to die, and John is in a great position to continue zoning him. And then this happens. The point is, you don't have to play by the meta's rules just to find success. People may convince you the best characters in a fighting game will always be just that, the best characters. And people will say you see the best characters all the time, which you do, but it doesn't explain why Q was such a popular pick in Third Strike despite being one of the lowest in the game. If you're dedicated, you can invent new strategies yourself using the tools of a character you feel hasn't been developed enough. Learning what the current meta prioritizes can help you understand what your character needs to succeed. If you find patterns in what the best characters all do, you could try to replicate that with your own character, or find hard counterplay, say how a character as aggressive as Balrog works around the hard defensive play as Super Turbo, like I mentioned earlier. Marvel 2 has a meta that's very hard to explain. Like most other old fighting games, you might be tempted to say there's like 8 characters you see all the time. It's not Marvel vs. Capcom 2, it's a bunch of X-Men characters featuring Iron Man, Captain Commando, Tron Bonne, Strider, and Doctor Doom. The more you look into it, the more you realize Marvel 2's metagame, actually scratch that, metagame, the more you realize Marvel 2's metagame is very fucked up. You'll see why I put that in air quotes later. Marvel 2 is all about how you build your team, but it's not as easy to build a team as say BB Tag or maybe DBFZ? I don't know, I've never played it. I'm pretty sure someone in the comments will correct me. Picture this, you're a naive young teenager who wanted to get into Marvel 2 over any other newer fighting game for whatever reason. Going into the game, you should have an idea on how it works. You can pick 3 characters for your team, and each of those characters has an assist, which allows them to be called anytime during the fight. Like any sane person, you'd want to figure out what characters you want to learn, and look up a tier list to see what characters are good and what characters are bad. Thank God for Shoryuken forms. Let's say you wanted to be smart. You'd build your team off good characters. You tell yourself, I want to make my team Spiral, Psylocke, and Iron Man. Okay, how about Spiral, Storm, and Strider? Cyclops, Doctor Doom, Psylocke? Captain Commando, Sentinel, Cyclops. You scroll even further down the tier list. Strong teams, top tourney teams, and all these have either Storm, Sentinel, Magneto, and Cable on one of those teams. Sometimes more than one of them. Sometimes 3 of those 4 are all on the same team. And all 4 of these characters happen to be in the same tier? Pay attention, cause we're gonna get into some shit. Kinda similar to DBFC where you typically want to have a point, middle, and anchor. In Marvel 2, all the characters on your team need to serve a different purpose. In this game's case, every team should have a character that builds meter, a character that spends meter, and your assist character, but it doesn't end there. All of your characters must directly benefit each other throughout every match. You are a team after all. Look at MSP for example, literally an abbreviation for Magneto, Storm, Psylocke, and widely considered the best team in the game. This team is focused on big damage, high rushdown. Magneto provides the rushdown. He builds meter with his long combos, ROM infinite, and double snap infinite. To help in his rushdown game, he has the Psylocke Psyblade assist, a fast move with tons of priority and knocks down. It's used to help start Magneto's combos and sometimes extend them. Storm is great in the sense that she can play defense or offense very well. She can also act as an assist for Magneto. In this case, she's tagged in whenever Magneto's in danger or if he's dead. Storm fishes for combos just like Magneto, which are made easier if you manage to keep Psylocke alive. When she's not fishing for combos, she's abusing the meter built for Magneto on her Hailstorm super, which not only covers the whole screen, but does tons of damage on hit and on block. Storm is also capable of building meter herself, but in this case Magneto does a way better job from combos alone. You see, we not only have our meter builder, meter spender, and assist, but all three of these characters can benefit each other. Oh yeah, probably should mention this. Assist characters don't really get benefits, they're the one giving out benefits. That's why they're called assist characters. I guess they benefit from not dying? Maybe? This method of team building applies to all the good teams in Marvel 2. Maybe not the whole characters directly benefit each other thing, but definitely character philosophy. Team Santhrax, Sentinel, Storm, Captain Commando. Storm builds meter, Sentinel spends it. Captain Commando's assist acts as a good get-off-me tool and helps Sentinel in finishing combos. The way these two benefit off each other is in the Storm Sentinel DHC, a deadly hard-hitting combo that more often than not can completely kill the opposing character. For Team Scrub, Cable, Sentinel, Captain Commando, this time Sentinel builds meter and Cable spends it. Captain Commando acts the same way he was for Sentinel and Cable alike. Cable and Sentinel can both help each other a bunch with their assists, but the real reason you want Cable as the meter spender is for the Hyper Viper beam loops. With a ton of meter, this can be insane. Now remember how I said most if not all popular teams have at least Storm, Sentinel, Magneto, or Cable, aka the gods of Marvel 2. There's two very good reasons for that. All the god tier characters are very flexible. I already mentioned how good Storm is at playing offense and defense. Cable is generally a zoner, but can still put out massive amounts of damage. Sentinel and Magneto are both flexible in many aspects. The playstyles and strategies implemented by the gods are very extensive. The high tier characters, only used for one purpose. Spiral, used for trapping. Iron Man and War Machine, used for their infinite. Strider Doom together, used for trapping. Captain Commando, Cyclops, Psylocke, Tron Bonne, all used solely as assist characters. Dhalsim, no fucking clue. He's as much of a mystery to me as people who like Mountain Dew Baja Blast. Carbonated soap water in a bottle. People drink this garbage. To help these characters set up their strategies in the first place, typically you need help from the gods. Spiral gets help from Sentinel, Iron Man gets help from Magneto, etc. This is where those shitty teams I came up with earlier now come into play. Not only is character philosophy not fulfilled, none of these characters can do anything for each other. Spiral, Iron Man, Psylocke? I guess you could set up the infinite with Psylocke, but there's no one to help Spiral with her trap game, so why would you put her on the team? Spiral, Storm, Strider? Both of these are trap characters, and they need other people to help them trap in the first place. Not only that, neither of these people can do a damn thing for Storm. Cyclops, Doctor Doom, Psylocke? That's a terrible idea. The only reason these characters are put this high is because they work very well with their respective teams. By themselves, they're near worthless, especially the assist characters. The biggest advantage to playing the weaker characters is they may only have one strategy, but they are the best in the game at doing what they do. Iron Man may only be useful for his infinite, but if your game plan revolves solely around getting big damage with an infinite, then he's your go-to. Storm and Magneto also have an infinite, but they're way more situational and way less useful than Iron Man's. The other big reason why you'd want the gods on your team is something you might have guessed at this point. When you play the high tier characters, your game plan revolves around their strategies, but when that character dies, that strategy no longer exists. So when it's gone, you still have one or two amazing characters to potentially win the game back. With Team Duck for example, Spiral, Cable, Sentinel, you're gonna have Spiral leading a majority of the time. Your goal is to trap and lock down opponents with the help of Sentinel. When she dies, you still have the amazing Sentinel and Cable at your disposal. Compare this to Team Clockwork, Sentinel, Strider, Doom, which is infinitely better at trapping, but there's way more risk should Strider or Doom die. This is why I put metagame in air quotes earlier. I said I was talking about the meta, but what I was actually talking about is how you build your team. But the way teams are built also directly influences the meta. These are the best teams, but these are the best characters. These four characters run everything, they're on most of the teams, so is it safe to assume these four characters are the meta of Marvel vs. Capcom 2, even though they need the assistance of characters way worse than them? Is it the characters that run the meta, or is it the teams? Again, subjectivity. Also, because I know somebody's gonna bitch about this in the comments, don't see this as me forcefully telling you how to play Marvel 2. I know there's people out there who just want to put whatever wacky combination of characters on a team and have at her. I'm not trying to ruin what you think is fun about this game. I'm trying to explain how to play this game properly, for those who want to learn the game competitively. Even for competitive folk, the real magic in Marvel 2 is figuring out what character combinations work best. Many combinations don't work out in the long run. There's tons of combinations that have potential though, even ones that don't have the gods. Ruby Heart Sansan Anakaris, BB Hood Juggernaut Captain Commando, Justin Wong's signature low tier Ruby Heart Jill Ken. Here's Jappy. His team always felt so genius to me despite its simplicity. There's one goal, get that ass, no matter what. Infinite with Iron Man. Obviously it does damage, but also builds meter for Strider to trap. So if there's ever a need to tag out Iron Man, Strider can hold his own with his trap game with assistance from Doom. If one of Strider's little rings connect however, you can set that up to tag Iron Man back in, where he can do the infinite, build the meter back up with the damage, yada yada yada. Character philosophy is fulfilled, both characters help each other directly, proper assist too, it's beautiful. It all comes with one huge risk. If Iron Man dies, it's over. No more meter building, no more damage. The best you can do is haul ass with Strider Doom, or admit defeat. A straightforward, gimmicky team. That's absolutely genius at the same time.
Know what they are doing. They know.
Look at this.
Call Dr. Doom.
Look at this.
OTG him up. Free OTG.
That's free?
Yeah, that's free OTG. You can't roll out of that.
Oh my!
Yeah, you can't roll out of that. I know what's happening.
Did you guys see that shit?
No matter what fighting game we play, no matter what time frame we live in, we're always going to live in a world where top tiers are bullshit and will be absolutely everywhere. And you know what? That's fine. There's nothing wrong with a large group of people wanting to play the best characters because they want to win or they want to play fun characters. But what happens to the other 60% of the characters this game came packaged with? When there's less attention put on them, there's people who take interest. When there's people who take interest, there's potential for a meta to develop further. Learning how the game works is a small step in the right direction. Learning how to exploit it brings you closer to making your vision a reality. People may call you crazy for thinking your bottom tier character is mid tier at best, but it only takes one person to prove those people wrong and inspire future players. The things you do now might be what everyone else does 4 or 5 years later. The video is called Play to Win, but the way you go about doing that is all up to you. Are you gonna play top tiers like everyone else, or are you gonna ask yourself the questions no one else feels like answering? Is Hugo really bound to lay waste in the bottom tiers, or is there more to him than we think? What about Game & Watch? What about all the other 40 characters in Marvel 2? You believe in the potential for characters that have next to no representation in top level play? I think you're an idiot, but that's me. You and I think different, and it's up to you to prove me wrong. In conclusion, fuck you, I'm right, go to bed.